Hello and welcome back to another Space Yapper 77 video. If this video were recommended to you, it most likely means that you like explosions and rockets. Obviously, this combination is very unhealthy for the success of a space mission, as rockets famously are bad at handling unscheduled explosions. Regardless of this, it's hard to deny how cool a rocket exploding can look, which is why I'm creating this video. Disclaimer: all the rockets in this video were uncrewed and contain no fatalities or injuries to personnel. To determine how epic an explosion is, I will look at the explosion's size, its total destruction cost, and how cool I think it looks. These criteria will almost certainly lead to the most accurate ranking of rockets exploding ever put on YouTube. Also, I like rockets, but I am not an actual expert. So on price and size estimates, you will just have to trust me, bro. Before we begin, I would like to share a quick word from today's sponsor.
Shut your fucking mouth!
No one, but you could help me change that.
Shut your fucking mouth!
By subscribing and liking if you end up enjoying
Shut your
this
fucking
video.
mouth!
Now, let us begin. Pretty cool, right? What you just witnessed was the SpaceX Falcon 9 AMOS-6 static fire, which took place on September 1st, 2016. This was a routine mission for the SpaceX team, and the error was therefore very unexpected. It turned out that liquid oxygen was getting inside the carbon fiber bonds of helium tanks, placed on the inside of the oxygen tank. These helium tanks broke and released all their pressure inside the oxygen tank, which then overpressured and exploded. I have ranked this explosion quite high on the destruction damages chart, compared to the others, as the rocket contained an expensive satellite. The explosion was also quite big, but compared to the other explosions, I think it's lacking in coolness as it never lifted off the launch pad before exploding. All scores added up, this one gets 5th place. Let's see the next one. That was the SpaceX Starship SN-10 test flight, which happened on March 3, 2021. The mission was supposed to verify that the rocket could land upright, which, as we saw in the video, actually did happen. Therefore, the mission was labeled as a success, even though the rocket later exploded caused by a fuel leak. I have ranked this one high on the coolness chart, as I think it's an awesome and very unique one, especially since it actually flew and then landed, just for it to go up in a giant fireball a few minutes later, causing the rocket to do a damn backflip. Also, the explosion is actually a lot bigger than it might seem in the video. It's very easy to forget how large Starship actually is, which makes the explosion seem a bit underwhelming at first. But when we take a closer look, it becomes clear that the explosion certainly is big enough for a 2nd place on the explosion size chart. Sadly, the damages were very minimal as the explosion only destroyed the actually quite cheap rocket and no infrastructure, as it was a test flight with a chance of failure. Altogether, this explosion gets 4th place. Next.
And we have liftoff of Antares, the Orbit 3 mission that brings Cygnus on its 3rd CRS mission to the ISS. Got main engines at 108%.
AVI power nominal.
The Antares 130 launch was supposed to be a supply mission to the International Space Station on October 28, 2014. Instead of reaching its goal, a liquid oxygen turbopump exploded 15 seconds into the flight, causing the rocket to fall back to the launch pad, which resulted in a gigantic explosion. For me, this is its biggest strength. It really was gigantic, landing it in second place on the explosion size chart. When we look at destruction cost and coolness, I have chosen to rank it third in both categories. I just love how we clearly can see the initial explosion from the turbopump, and then how the rocket loses speed and slowly falls back to the ground, causing the humongous explosion, which in itself also is great. Big and very epic. The dark amplifies it even more, making everything extremely clear and visible from the ground. Also, the fact that we can see parts flying away from the explosion is really cool too. The scores added up, lands this one in third place overall. Let's continue.
Motherfucking clanker.
3, 2, 1, 0. We have ignition and liftoff from Cape Canaveral Air Station of the Air Force Delta II launch vehicle carrying the new GPS-2R satellite. We have had an anomaly. We just had an anomaly of the Delta II launch vehicle from Cape Canaveral Air Station. We need to secure the area. Once again, we had liftoff of Delta II launch vehicle from Cape Canaveral Air Station, and we just had a problem with the vehicle on the pad. One, 0. We have ignition and liftoff from Cape Canaveral Air Station of the Air Force Delta II launch vehicle carrying the new GPS-2R satellite. We have had an anomaly. We just had an anomaly of the Delta II launch vehicle from Cape Canaveral Air Station. We need to secure the area. Once again, we had liftoff of Delta II launch vehicle from Cape Canaveral Air Station, and we just had a problem with the vehicle on the pad.
What you just saw was a Delta II rocket on its way to orbit with the GPS IIR-1 satellite on January 17, 1997. While it was ascending, one of the 9 solid rocket boosters exploded, bringing the entire rocket down with it. This explosion ranks quite low on both the destruction price and explosion size chart. Actually, the explosion itself is the smallest on this list. Most of it is just debris being flung everywhere. Also, a lot of the destruction price actually just stems from the rocket itself, as it, unlike some of the other rockets, did not explode on the launch pad itself.
Shut your fucking mouth!
It did manage to destroy 20 cars in a nearby parking lot with its falling debris, though. But cars are very inexpensive compared to rockets and launch pads, so that doesn't add much to the expenses. Where it shines, though, is in its coolness. It's actually my personal favorite. The explosion just look and feel so unique that I just had to give it the first place in coolness. I am not entirely sure, but I think the relative high speed of the rocket at the time of the explosion is what caused all the debris to just keep going up and then fall back down in such a unique and beautiful way. Almost like fireworks. The coolest part of it all, though, is how the surrounding area is just bombarded with debris and fire a little later. It just looks so flippin' awesome that I almost can't describe it. Altogether, this one gets 13 points, just like the last one. But I like it more, so I have decided to give it a little extra score, which allows it to reach second place overall. Now, let's get to the last one. Some of you might have guessed it already. The first palace, of course, goes to the Soviet N-1 rocket. Up until Starship's first integrated flight test, the N-1 was the most powerful rocket ever flown. Intended as a counterpart to the American Saturn V rocket, the N-1 was supposed to allow crewed flight to the moon and back. This never became a reality, as all flights of the rocket ended in catastrophic failures. The explosion you just saw happened on July 3, 1969, during the second flight of the rocket. It resulted in the largest human-made non-nuclear explosion in history, which of course allows for the first place in explosion size. So what caused it? A turbo pump exploded, which led to a chain reaction where multiple of the 30 engines shut down, causing the rocket to fall back to the launch pad. A lack of testing and immense complexity is largely at fault for this. Less than a month after this failure, the Americans managed to land on the moon, which caused the N-1 program to be shut down due to lack of funding and motivation. Like with the explosion size, I have also put it at first place in destruction cost, as it was a large and very special rocket with very few being built. It also completely destroyed the launch pad, which adds up to an immense cost. Due to the very poor quality of the footage, I have put it at fourth place in coolness, as it just does not feel as impressive when it's filmed so badly and at such low quality. If the footage was at modern standards, it might have gotten first or second place in coolness. This does not really matter though, as it's at first place overall anyways. So that was the ranking, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. If I forgot your favorite explosion or disagree with my rankings, you're welcome to let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.